Moving on to part 3 of the long and short stitch, you'll notice that I have worked a split stitch line across the bottom of the box, and that's done in the lightest color, and that's the color that we're using for the last row here. Now the method is the same, except that now we're stitching over that split stitch line at the bottom. And you can see here I left a gap between the first 2 stitches, so I'm going backwards to fill that in. And now for the rest of this, I'm going to actually just stitch from the center to the right without having to go back and fill in. And the last row, for some reason, it seems to go pretty quickly. So you'll probably work that last row pretty quickly. Remember to stagger the top of your stitches into the previous row and to go deep into that color. Coming up and splitting the threads that you're going through. It's true that occasionally as you're stitching, you may not necessarily split the threads. You might just come up between them or push one aside. And sometimes that doesn't make a difference as long as you have enough thread coverage there that you can't see the fabric. So you're going to make sure that those stitches lie smoothly next to each other. And here I'm going back again to fill in the gap that I just left. So another testimony to the forgiving nature of the long and short stitch. Now, long and short stitch isn't often worked vertically in a box. I guess it could be, but you don't see it too often that way. Normally, we see it worked on flowers and botanicals and natural things, and so you want the shading to look natural. You don't normally just see rows of long and short stitch stitched in boxes. Although it's a good exercise for learning the basic movement of the long and short stitch. So when you get to the end, you're going to stitch your last stitch right over the pencil line on the right. And I'm taking that pretty deep there. And I left a gap, so I'm going to go back and fill that in. I was running out of threads, so I switched threads, and now I'm working from the center back to the left. Now, if you're just coming in on these videos right now from somewhere, you might want to check out my website, needleandthread.com, where you'll find the rest of the lessons for the long and short stitch, including text and step-by-step photos. And I'll also cover, materials and threads. I've got the color numbers listed for the threads that I'm using for this box right here. And the point of this series of lessons is just to familiarize you with the long and short stitch so that you're not intimidated by it and you can pick up any kind of long and short stitch project and tackle it with a little more confidence. Well, that's what I'm hoping. So now we're just continuing to the last few stitches on this little box. We're almost there. You've almost done it. And when you get to the end of this thread, since you don't have anywhere to anchor the stitches, you'll just turn your work over and run your needle underneath the stitches on the back and cut the thread. And that's how you end it. So we have one more stitch here, I think, right down into the corner. And that is it.